What's up, guys? Today I wanted to make a video on nostalgic, scary books. Now these are books that are filled with scary stories about all things that go bump in the night. You know, ghosts, witches, vampires, werewolves, zombies, demons, and everything in between. And I grew up with these types of books. They were always in my classroom in school growing up, and I always tried to kind of, make a mental note of the ones that I liked, so that I could go out and buy them whenever possible at, whether it was my local Walden Books or Barnes & Noble. These are some of my favorite collections of scary stories, and I wanted to make a video and share some of them with you. So here we go. The setting is perfect. It's almost Halloween. It's almost that time of the year. Let's kick things off with one of my favorite groups of scary stories, and these were the series called Tales for the Midnight Hour. This particular book was called More Tales for the Midnight Hour. This one is this is a series of books, Tales for the Midnight Hour, that's got like 13 stories in each, I believe, and they're all basically scary stories. They're all stories about bad luck and witches and ghosts and things like that. And I always got a real kick out of reading these. These were really fun. This particular one, as I said, is More Tales for the Midnight Hour. The stories that are contained inside this one are The Shortcut, Trick or Treat, The Hearse, At Midnight, The Black Mar, or Mare, something, The Love Charm, The Mask, Right In, The Collector, A Ghost Story, In the Lantern's Light, Footsteps, and the grand finale being A Night in the Woods. Now, as I said, these books were really, really creepy, and this was a kids' book series, so it wasn't really anything too extreme. You weren't reaching Stephen King levels with this group of books, and these were done by an author by the name of J.B. Stamper. I remember reading these when I was in school, in elementary school, and I always loved them. I always, from that point on, kept my eye out for any other additional books in the series. And speaking of which, I have another one right here. This one, still More Tales for the Midnight Hour. I believe this was the third in the series. The original obviously being Tales for the Midnight Hour, the second being More Tales, and this one was still More Tales. And I believe there was another one after this, which I don't have, but I think that one was called Even More Tales for the Midnight Hour. And again, this one has 13 scary stories in it, again by J.B. Stamper. And the stories in this one were Cemetery Road, The Wax Museum, Tally Po, Words of Warning, The Ghost's Revenge, A Special Treat, The Magic Vanishing Box, Wait Till Max Comes, The Old Beggar Woman, The Masked Ball, Skin and Bones, The Snake Charmer, and The Snipe Hunt. I don't remember too many of these stories in this particular one. I know I read a lot more from the More Tales book. I know that there was at least a few really awesome, really spooky stories in this one. Really any of this series is great. You should definitely pick it up if you're looking for some type of nostalgic, scary story to tell at the midnight hour, such as it is right now. Another one that I have here is, I'm not sure what year this one was from. I know that I got this one at a book fair way back in the day. I don't know if anybody actually remembers those anymore, but this one is called Hostilities, 9 Bizarre Stories. This one is got a very strange cover there with some poor bastard with a clock on his face, and his arms have been twisted and contorted, and he's all kinds of fucked up. Now, these stories, I don't remember reading too many of these. I know that I bought this book at, like I said, at a book fair, I think just for the hell of it. The stories in this one are The Thief in the Rocks, The Dandelion Creek, The Greenhouse, The Dam, At the Old Roxy, Hostilities, Lies, I Saw My Name in a Book, The Message in the Dust. So I think I remember reading at least a couple, and I think I remember them being not too bad, pretty good. Not quite up there with the Tales for the Midnight Hour, but still a pretty good one nonetheless. Now this one is probably my second favorite. This one isn't a series. It's as far as I know, it's just an individual book. But this one took me a long time to get my hands on, and I'm not proud of it. I had to steal it from a classroom that I had way back in elementary school because I just loved this book so much, and ever since I got it, I've read it multiple times since then. This one is called 13 Ghosts. Now, this one is actually very, very creepy. Just about every story in here I've read multiple times, and just about every story in this book is really, really creepy. These are... The tagline of this book is "Strange but True Stories." And the back has a quote on it. It says, "It was true. He didn't believe in ghosts. Still, he knew what he had seen." This is a really, really great book. This is by Will Osborne. This has some really spooky stories in it. I'll read off the stories that this one has. It's the table of contents. The ghost who carried a coffin, the curse of the mummy's bone, the phantom of the German submarine, the ghost of the Yorkshire Museum, the ghost of the Irish bride, the ghost in the brown satin dress, a murder solved by a ghost, the ghost of the tulip staircase, the airman who flew back from the dead, the minister's haunted house, the ghost in the rattling chains, the ghost with the bright red scar, and the revenge of the murderer's skull. Now, I remember that at least pretty much all of these really got under my skin when I read them, and I remember getting chills reading these stories when I was little, so I highly, highly recommend this book. The cover is very, very creepy. The staircase that's on there, I forget the name of it, but I know it's an actual location that is apparently haunted by a woman who has been supposedly seen, her apparition has supposedly been seen walking down the staircase late in the middle of the night. I forget the name and where it is, but this is definitely one that you need to try and track down. Again, this one is called 13 Ghosts. It's by Will Osborne. Definitely check it out. It's creepy as shit. Up next we have a book that I've had in my possession since I was a little kid. I remember back when I was like 4 years old, I remember I used to pull this book out of my brother's bookcase, and I used to stare at the cover, and it used to creep the shit out of me just looking at it. It gave me nightmares just from visualizing it. This one is called, it's a little lesser known, this one's called Haunted Kids. This one, True Ghost Stories. And it's by Bruce Nash and Alan Zullo with Ray Vilwalk. This one is very interesting. The cover is what I was talking about. Is the picture of this house that I've actually seen. I don't know if you can see it well on here, but it's a house that I've seen in other books before. I'm almost certain that I've seen this book in a textbook in school way long time ago. Really, really creepy looking house. Try and get in close on it. It's really, really spooky looking house. This cover alone made me interested in this book when I was little. Holy shit, I even still have a bookmark in there, and I just lost my space. The ones in here are The Devil's Garden, Grave Consequences, The Headless Train Man, The Secret of Room 333, The Home Wrecker, The Ghost of Slow Sam, The Babysitting Ghost, The Scaredy Cats, The Thing in the Attic, The Warning, and The Glowing Ball of Death. Now, I'm pretty sure there is a story in here about a kid who kicks over a gravestone. Needless to say, that is probably the creepiest story in this book, from what I remember. Haven't read it in a long time, but if you can manage to get your hands on this one, it's definitely worth checking out. I think this house I had seen on a cover of a Weird New Jersey magazine way back when. I don't know if maybe somebody can tell me what this house is, or where it is, or where it's from, where I know it's, what I could possibly know it from. But I know I've definitely seen it before, and this book is definitely interesting read. If you, it's a really quick read. The stories are really short, and again, it's Haunted Kids, so it's obviously for kids. So, but the stories are creepy enough. This is another one that was one of my favorites. This is another one I got from a classroom. This one I believe a teacher actually gave to me because she was really nice and she knew that I loved the book, so she let me have it at the end of the school year. This one is Railway Ghosts and Highway Horrors. This one is got some great stories. There's an awesome cover on there. Most of the stories in here are about like ghostly hitchhikers and basically traveling ghost stories. Haunted stories about haunted roads and haunted road trips and things like that. So really, really great book that I always used to bring anytime we would go on with the family on long road trips to Disney World or something like that, or long road trips. I would always make sure to pack this in my backpack and bust it out, you know, in the late night hours on the road, driving through the desolate roads and the desolate highways, which are creepy enough on their own, but this book definitely is a great companion for that. The stories in this book are The Most Famous Phantom, Big Joe, The Caretaker Who Wouldn't Leave, Roadside Phantoms, Strangers on a Train, What Was It, The Annan Road Horrors, The Warning Light, The Ghost of the Great North Road, Deadly Crossings, The Death Car, Open 24 Hours, and Horrible Happenings. This book is great. All the stories in this book are really, really creepy from what I remember. I haven't read it in a long time, but it's definitely a great book to bust out around the Halloween time of year, especially if you're into going on, you know, scary road trips to haunted places and things like that. It's definitely one to kind of read aloud with the friends as you're going. Yeah, if you can manage to track this one down, it's definitely worth picking up, especially if you're into collections of scary ghost stories. And now for the main event, the king, perhaps, in my opinion, of all scary story collections, the series of books that everybody wanted to get their hands on when I was little, and even more so now because they're even more rare now for a particular reason, which I'll mention in a minute. But I managed to get my hands on these because of a friend. A friend purchased these books for me, and I couldn't have been more grateful, and especially considering that these versions of these books are very hard to track down now. The books I'm talking about, of course, are none other than Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Now, I remember renting these books from the library, the school library, a long, long time ago, and obviously I don't even need to tell you about the artwork on these books is absolutely bone-chilling. That's what these books are really known for, is the artwork. And I know that it's crazy, but these books were banned in a lot of schools because of how frightening the imagery in these books were. I'll show you the covers first, and then I'll show you some of the artwork from the insides. But yeah, these books weren't so much known for the stories as they were for the illustrations on the inside. They were absolutely, you know, bone-chilling. Like, really get under your skin. Like, the funny thing is that most people will agree with me, people who've read these books, is that the illustrations and the artwork are creepier than the actual stories themselves. But, like, just gotta take a look at some of these. The images in this book are just unforgettable. Like, look at that. Look at that shit. That'll fucking keep you up at night if you're like 7 years old. You rent that fucking second grade from the school library. Be shitting your pants. There's another one. This psycho. This guy's, I think he's like eating an eyeball or some shit. That's fucking insane. He's like eating an eyeball and a nose, and he's eating all your shit. Look at that. Woman's carrying a guy's fucking head on a goddamn platter. So yeah, just some of the images in these books are just so fucking unsettling. Especially if you're a little kid. Like, try to think back. If you haven't read these books before, just try to think back. Try to put yourself in the perspective of being a little kid, renting these books from the library, and opening them up, going through them, and seeing all of the artwork before you even read the stories. Seeing all the artwork in these books and just shitting your pants. Everybody at the time, when I was growing up, everybody was freaked out by these books. Everybody. And like I said, you know, nobody really paid attention to the stories that much, but everybody knew about the artwork. Everybody pretty much started to rent these books specifically just to look at the pictures inside. And what the horrible thing is that like I said, these books were banned for a period of time at schools because the imagery was just too disturbing. And they actually re-released these books, I think it was for the 25th anniversary, and they got a new artist to do new illustrations, and they got rid of all of these original illustrations were all gone, and they put new illustrations that were just terrible. They just really minimized it to like little tiny quarter-sized pictures before each story. Just really simple, totally unscary pictures at the beginnings, and it was just really terrible. They changed the cover artworks and everything. It just really minimized it and sterilized it and just took away everything that made these books special, especially for the anniversary, to disrespect the original artist that much. Somebody who clearly put a lot of thought into these images, into this art. So bone-chilling, so creepy, just everything that you could want out of a book collection of scary stories. So, like I said, scary stories to tell in the dark. Just absolutely, they became legendary, and rightfully so. The stories are, less than stellar, they're run-of-the-mill, but at the end of the day, what really matters is they're memorable for something. Even if they're only memorable for the artwork, they're still memorable for something. Just like all these books, they're part of your childhood, they're a part of my childhood. I loved them then, and I still have a fondness for them now. Despite the quality of the writing, despite the quality of the stories, they still creeped me out when I was little, and because of that, there's still a nostalgic creep factor that you get now. And I'm really happy that I have these books now to be able to have in my collection, to look back on and reflect not only on my childhood, but reflect on, scarier days gone by, as far as, the scares that the innocence of childhood can bring you. So with that, thank you so much for watching my collection of scary, nostalgic books. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Leave a comment. Let me know what kind of scary books you grew up with, what kind of nostalgic, scary collection books, or any type of nostalgic books that you grew up with that you enjoyed. Give this video a like. Please share it if you can. And if you enjoy my content, please give this channel a subscribe. I could really appreciate it. There's going to be a brand new episode of Fear Flicks coming very, very soon, so be on the lookout for that, as well as a new episode of Paranormal 101. The Halloween season is finally upon us. Let's start to enjoy it, and I will see you guys next time.